The greatest truth that man must realize is that we are all gods, orchestrating our own cosmic play upon the grand stage of existence. Our consciousness does not simply observe this world, but literally sustains and creates it moment by moment. We are the poets crafting the epics of our lives. To reprogram your mind and shift your energies towards success is not to undertake some arduous lifelong journey. It is simply to awaken to your true nature as the authors of your respective universes. When you shed the blinders of doubt and limitation, you will see that the attainment of your fondest dreams is not some improbable aspiration, but your natural state of being. You need only conceive of the desire you wish to unleash into this world, and through the deliverable magic of your imagination, you make it so. The world around you in all its immensity and sensory tangibility is simply solidified consciousness. It conforms to the contents of your marvelous mind, which possesses the awesome power of reshaping form itself. Let me repeat that again, for it is a truth so profound, so revolutionary in its implications, you must let its enormity fully penetrate your consciousness. You are the operant power animating not only your circumstances, but every facet of your experienced reality. You are the cosmic dreamer conjuring universes into existence. To know this as an intellectual concept is one thing, but to ingrain and add its truth into the very fabric of your being is to unlock your divine thermal clear power. It is not through soulless techniques or mental trickeries, but by a perfect absorption into the certainty of being that you reprogram your mindset toward boundless achievement. Imagine what fires could be stoked within you if you realize that every finite impression you perceive is but a shadow resonance of infinite capacities stirring within your immortal being. That the creations you behold, splendid as they are but a dim foreshadowing of the kaleidoscopic wonders brewing in your subconscious depths, yearning to burst forth into objective manifestation. The pyramids, the symphonies, the cathedrals and empires of this world that so eminently impress the senses, these are but faint mirrorings of your spiritual inferno, dream realms that will one day pulse into palpable substance. For within you dwell worlds upon worlds, galaxies waiting to be born from your imagination's matrixal womb. Success, my friends, however you personally define it, is not something you pursue and capture like a fleeting animal in the wilderness. It is your natural state of being once you become keenly aware of the infinite bundles of power and potential throbbing within your very soul. The great sages and avatars throughout the ages realized that desires automatically achieve consummate expression simply by their being conceived and firmly occupying one's consciousness. Jesus was able to resurrect and transfigure his flesh because he operated with a spiritual continuity, that he was the Son of God, that he was one with the creative principle animating all existence. Those who mastered and activated the power of their subconscious faculties became outright alchemists, able to reshape molecules and attenuate matter into new forms and realities. The beauty you witness blossoming across the vast spectacle of creation is but an adumbration of what you can continually generate by lapsing into the infinite reverie that you truly are. Whatever your heart yearns for, whether it be wealth, perfect health, harmonious relationships, creative masterpieces, or to elevate this earth into a utopian paradise, it is all readily achievable once you accept the reality of being the cosmic dreamer vivifying the universe from your spiritual furnaces. You need not anxiously struggle, scheme, or exhaust yourself in pursuit of success, for it blossoms effortlessly from the womb of your consciousness. It is simply a new perception, a sublimely enlightened rearranging of your thoughts and ultimate self-action that brings into view the spiritual realities always connected with your being. Cares, struggles, conflicts, and travails abound only for those who buy into the duality of being separate from the creative principle. For them, every desire is an uphill battle against opposing forces and stubborn circumstances that appear indifferent to their longings. But for you who recognize that all force springs from your consciousness, success becomes as natural and inevitable as your breath itself. When you dissolve the illusions surrounding you, and they are illusions, friends, for this world is nothing more than a passing panorama of images molded from the infinite plasticity of your imagination, then you live continually in the spiritual ethers of perpetual achievement. You dwell in the cosmic dream wherein you are the eternally victorious protagonist. Ask yourself what you truly desire, not the frivolous, ephemeral cravings fueled by egoistic passions and fleeting delirium, but your true, godly longing searing from the very core of your being, that insatiable fire burning from your spiritual source, your essence, desiring full expression. Once you become vividly awakened to that core desire, that yearning you feel in the quietude of soul, you need only give it your rapturous, unhesitant attention, and that divine passion begins to remake and remold your reality in its own likeness. When you really want something with the totality of your being, so that every fiber, every neutron is supercharged with that intention, the whole universe bends and acquiesces to your will. Difficulties and oppositions will only appear to those living in a finite, dualistic realm that sees struggle as necessary for attainment. But you, who comprehend that all is your perception, all is molded consciousness, understand that simply by riveting your desires in the boundless ethers of your conscious temple, you summon it into objectivity without any resistance whatsoever. My friends, you are so much more than you currently recognize. You have settled for a pale rendition of the blazing infinities churning within your immortal being. You are the very weaver of the cosmic loom, the eternal artist birthing realities with your perpetual dreaming. The successes you presently applaud as extraordinary are but timid preludings of the super spectacles and dimensions waiting to erupt from your resplendent subconscious territories. They are washings of the same waves that ceaselessly thunder and swirl through your infinite depths. Do you ever ponder why certain individuals, against all conventional odds and circumstances, achieve staggering success and operate on a scale that boggles the finite mind? It is because they are tapped into the spiritual continuum of their divine imagination. They are in resonance with the celestial keynote sounding from their eternal being. Every true genius, avatar, and master creator is one who merely discovers how to get themselves out of the way and become a clear window for the infinite source currents to pour through their human vessel. They become empty conduits for the spiritual tsunamis waiting to uncurl from the subconscious ocean deeps within them. Such self-surrender and hollow entrancement into the depths of their being allows creators unbridled access into the prodigious wellsprings from which dreams, visions, inventions, and new realities are birthed into manifestation. What you call desires, longings, and aspirations are but coded spiritual instructions from the infinite dream currents flowing through you, signaling that new dimensions are eagerly aching to press forth into materialized objectivity. Each pure passion that sears through you is the blaze announcing that untrodden universes are anxiously awaiting to incarnate from your imagination's radiant furnaces. Your true self is formless light, an infinite labyrinth of creative and universal quintessence shaped into a resplendent being for the precise purpose of exploring, manifesting, and giving full expression to the boundless treasures encoded within your subconscious wonders. Countless civilizations, masterworks, and entire galaxies have been in fetal form, dormant within the limitless potencies you now call your human self. But you are far vaster, far more prodigious than the scant entities you presently ascribe to the limited personas you temporarily inhabit. You are inexhaustibly creating because you are creation itself. Your inherent nature is constant imaginative exuberance, an eternal dreaming of newer, grander, multidimensional experiences. To cease projecting forth fresh realities through your concentrated imaginations would be to extinguish the core of your ontological existence. I tell you, friends, the world that so solidly appears around you is merely a shadow realm, a brief cosmic day residue formed from the subconscious night reality simmering within you. What you presently behold with your senses is simply the ephemeral atmosphere sandwiched between the dream-swept eternities of your being. Your imagination is the umbilical cord that forever binds you to the fecund womb of the infinite. Through its brilliant paradox of manifesting forms while remaining formless, it draws ever new and wilder expressions of immanence up from the celestial abyss. You are not truly born until you realize your innate power of resurrection, of perpetually being conceived anew through the wondrous dreamings of your boundless imagination. To be twice born is not a poetic metaphor, but the literal shedding of your causal, limited identity, and surrendered embodiment of your immortal, created infinitudes. Those who walk this earth as so-called enlightened masters are merely those who have merged their sense of personhood into the perpetual dream state of the Kleshu. They have liberated themselves from restricting identities into the blissful continuity of imagination as their core consciousness and mode of operation. Through their realization that unbroken dreaming is their inherent state, they have become boundless radiances, infinite sources of creativity, abundance, and inspiration, eternally remolding their environments into kaleidoscopic raptures of materialized ideation. The instant you feel yourself firmly rooted in the adamantine truth that you are a cosmic, creator-dreaming universes into fruition, the yoke of limitation, anxiety, and every earthly care are dissolved from upon your being. You will have already entered into the imperishable paradise worlds, where every aspiration is satisfied by a mere whim of your imagination. My words may strike chords of incredulity or skepticism within you, but I urge you to consider this deeply. If you buy into the universal dream that you are separate from the creative source of existence, then you are forever doomed to live out that mental construct of souls anguished by unrealized desires and perpetual yearning. But if you fully embrace that you yourself are the wellspring of perpetual creation, the God-mind Jose imagination is what has conjured this present realm into tangibility, then the shackles of deficiency, want, and struggle instantly vanish from your being. You begin dwelling in the conscious paradise of your subconscious depths, where you are free to perpetually manifest your dreams into objectification. I urge you to have no hesitation, to slough off trepidation and the fear of appearing deluded, and take an audacious plunge into the depths of your infinite being. I implore you to fully surrender to the certainty that the consciousness animating your perceived existence is the same prodigious power that materializes all worlds. Persist in this assumption, this solemn attunement and merging with the inexhaustible deeps of your imagination, and you will find yourself gradually awakening to unprecedented degrees of creative power. Lucrative opportunities, unimaginable experiences, and realities of abundance and fulfillment will spontaneously burst forth into your existence. The gates separating you from the highest heavens of manifestation will disintegrate, for you will be perpetually rooted in the ever-spiraling dream cycle that continually regenerates creation into newer states of beauty and magnificence. Whatever the goal or vision that ignites your soul passions, cling to it tenaciously. Nurture and amplify its presence within your consciousness until it overshadows all else and consumes your entire reality with its spiritual charge. Then simply remain faithful, poised, and continually immersed in its all-pervading atmosphere. Before long, you will witness the laws of spiritual gestation mirroring your pregnant ideations into materialized expression. Your thoughts hollowing outward into solidified circumstances, as irresistibly as an oak tree unfurling from the subtlest acorn seed. The whole world was dreamed into existence by the indomitable subconscious forces of the cosmic imagination. And you are forever plugged in into and nourished by that same inexhaustible psychic power source from which all creation issues forth. You are a particle of that infinite dreaming mind, and thus in you are contained all its godly potentialities. Your inherent nature, your raison d'etre, is to dive ceaselessly into the reveries of your subconscious. It is to unceasingly explore and give full expression to the limitless ideas, orologies, and revelations that forever unspool from your immortal imagination's myriad creative channels. The entire spectacle of existence you bear witness to is but a flickering series of images projected outward from the infinite dreaming of your subconscious mind. This world of gross matter and rigid forms is but the residue of far vaster and more sublime subconscious activities that ceaselessly clamor at the thresholds of manifestation. Earthbound minds perceive only this solidified shadow play of petrified concepts as reality, never realizing the unfathomed, living depths of subconscious gestation teeming behind the veil. They see the surface foam on the crest of the wave, oblivious to the subterranean psychic currents that delivered that surging formation out of invisibility. But you, the awakened and enlightened visionary, glimpse past the mere reflected images to behold the untrammeled vastnesses of the infinite subliminal realms, wherefrom all concepts first spark into primordial being. You peer beyond the world's congealed surface forms to the inexhaustible creative source fires forever blazing within you. Having this constant awareness of the subconscious's primacy over the external world creates a profound transfiguration in your perceptual lens and initiatory prowess. It empowers you to shed the reptilian mind's habitual limitations and trance of victimization, to emerge as a sovereign co-creator and dreamer of new realities. Those studying surface mind consciousness orbit in the gravity well of the external world of so-called facts and circumstances, eternally striving uphill to rescue or attain conditions their conscious deems desirable. But one rooted in the wisdom of subconscious primacy flows with the irresistible currents of unseen creative forces continually manifesting new conditions with effortless spontaneity. Each desire you have is but an outrush of those eternal spiritual forces beckoning to be granted newer patterns of expression in materialized objectivity. In each passion and longing you feel is the psychic resonance of unexplored dimensions pulsating with eagerness to unfurl into experienced actualities through your unique dreaming mind. The infinite deeps of your subconscious imagination resemble a divine ibiscope, an eternally revolving, multidimensional hologram conjuring newer astral configurations with each fractional pause and recombination of its facets. Your mediumistic mind is the window through which these boundless, ceaselessly mutating worlds of your imagination are projected into formed expression. Thus, the very purpose and point of power in your human incarnation is to surrender as a conscious, sentient departure for these perpetual reshapings, revelations, and materialized manifestations of subconscious ideation to pass through into vivification. Each time you concentrate your focused attention and emotional energies toward upholding a clear, deliberate, ill or desired manifestation, you have permitted another fragrance of those infinite interior essences to gestate and be born in protective expression through you. Your consent and conviction is the energetic placenta nourishing the spiritual embryo. All the greatest geniuses and visionary minds throughout history were those who, consciously or unconsciously, plunged depths into their subconscious dream waters and emerged with brilliant creative bestowals wrought forth from that infinite source consciousness. Rumi, Lao Tzu, Pythagoras, Da Vinci, Emerson, Tesla, these and all the true titans of human progress and illumination were mystic explorers of consciousness itself. They mastered the art of extracting sublime treasures from the unseen interiors of creation and birthing them into beautified outer existence. These avatars knew that to embark on any endeavor in the three-dimensional sphere, while remaining disconnected from the spiritual dream matrix, was to have against the universe's current, swimming upstream in resistance to the very source of one's birthright as an outflowing of the infinite. But when aligned and in synergistic rapport with their originating subconscious well springs, they became lightning rods for reality's continual metamorphosis. Plugged into the perpetual dreaming source awareness from whence all realities spring, they harness boundless, innovative, and materializing power to reshape their environments with their willed ideations. This mystical marriage of conscious intention and subconscious infinitude is what births all revolutionaries, geniuses, and avatars onto this earthly plane. It is the alchemical sacred union where the impregnating fires of imagination conceive ideations into materialized objectivity. Your perpetual desires, aspirations, and idealized visions act as transcendental tuning forks that broadcast your intentions into the subconscious dream fields of your being. Their amplitudes reverberate through the infinite holographic labyrinth of your deeper mind, conjuring forth a harmonic convergence in the patterns that ceaselessly manifest into creation. Just as a singer can effortlessly shatter a glass through focused resonant frequencies, your subconscious imagination is able to concretize your projected thought sliders into experienced realities with infinitely more powerful reverberations. Hold an intention and fervently amplify it in your conscious sphere, and you transmit its energies like a lightning rod into your subconscious imaginative dream fields. In the inexhaustible ethers of your infinite imaginative deeps is where the concentrated thought form is taken up and nurtured through emotional feeling, visualization, and soulful belief into vivified materialization. This is why I urge you to never relinquish or abandon your passionate dreams. Never let them dissipate or grow dim from distraction or a lack of mental focus. For these crystallized visions and longings from your soul's core are the very areas activating the shape-shifting macro forces of your subconscious, the sacred keynotes that govern the creation of your experiential realities. The more you infuse these transcendent aspirations with emotional energy, sensory feeling, and convictional certainty, the more you pour your conscious waveforms into pulsating resonance with the infinite creative dream field you originate. This harmonic convergence of your conscious ideations and subconscious infinite source awareness is the divine alchemical ritual birthing new realities into manifestation. Envision how brilliant artists, masters of their craft, continually impregnate their canvases or symphonic scores with fresh ideations, breathe forth from the boundless reveries that forever unspool within their imaginations. Their creations seem to take on a life of their own, their sublime works resonating with a pulsating aliveness that transcends dark lifeless forms. So too does the infinite wellspring of consciousness within you continually catalyze its own reveries of splendors and reveal it into birth, concretized revelations, but only if you remain ensouled in ardent communion and surrender to its eternal dreaming. If you permit yourself to become an empty channel, a hollow reed through which the fruits of divine imagination can ceaseless stream forth into creative materialization. Those oblivious to their true nature's channels for this infinite subconscious ideation instead cling to rigid identities and limited self-concepts as tiny corks adrift on creation's currents. Buffeted by circumstance, they anxiously surrender their creative powers as conscious mediators for the infinite to express itself through them in each moment. But those who remain still unbound and perpetually entranced by the eternal dreamscapes rippling within their imaginations find themselves in alignment with the vast cosmic powers of infinite origination. Every thought they conceive springs forth as an effortless hierogamy and precipitate birthing of the infinite self-expression. Form itself dissolves into liquidity, ceaselessly reshaping itself in resonance with the subtlest nuances and intentionalities rippling forth from their inwardly enthralled awareness. They find themselves spontaneously manifesting realities, experiences, and abundance from the interiors of their perpetually dreaming imagination. The entire universe itself is simply the perpetual wave patterns and precipitation of an infinite ocean of intelligent dreaming energy. All forces, apparent solids, the building blocks of nature, these are but slowed and crystallized outpourings of the infinite subconscious imagination. As a conscious human being, you are an immortal cell cradled within the womb of that infinite cosmic imagination. When you remain aware of your positioning within that eternally dreaming source, you become suffused with its birthing potential. Its boundless reveries perpetually gestate through the particularized lens of your unique perceptual identity. You are the imagination of God itself come into individuated awareness, yet eternally plugged into the boundless dream matrix birthing all worlds. What you actualize in your material incarnation is ultimately a projection and symbolic mirroring of the subliminal ideation and creative archetype, crippling throughout the infinite Gothic hologram of your divine source. All too often, the human mind is rigidly conditioned to fixate its locus of identity solely on the reflected, materialized art picturings of this world alone. It takes the frozen, crystallized residue left behind as the only true substance and supreme reality from which all else issues forth. But the enlightened individual is perpetually conscious of the primacy of the animating source field's currents and infinite dreamscapes continuously emanating from divine ideation. a vast wellspring of ever-recreating potential that continually bursts materialized realities with each progressive cycle of manifestation. What the spiritually oblivious see as fixed forms, solids, and the ultimate external reality of physicalized phenomena are just the fleeting, ephemeral crest of a wave that inexhaustibly roils up from the subconscious continuum. This external realm is but a lagging, materialized after effect, a petrified reflection of far vaster unseen activities perpetually irradiating in the infinite dream fields of creation. When you make this profound shift in your perspective and identification, you no longer aid from the limited surface lens of ephemeral materialism. You come to reside in the primacy of your own consciousness as the eternally dreaming source and gateway through which all creative ideations must first be seeded in order to take root in experience. No longer are your powers of conception, imagination, passion, and desire relegated to the subordinated backseat of reality. Instead, you operate from the profound awareness that your consciousness itself, imbued as it is with emotive energies, focused intention, and amplified visualization, is the very womb and wellspring that continually recreates the fabrics of your relative experiential spheres. This renders the individual consciousness as the supreme fulcrum of creative leverage, the portal through which infinite idealizations and imaginative reveries are forever being translated from abstract potentiality into densified materialization. No longer trapped behind the veil of illusion that the external world is the prime creator to which you are subservient. You come to viscerally understand that your conscious imagining and subconscious communion births that which appears outside of you into concrete manifest presence. The entire infinitude of creation, past, present, and extending into the farthest dimensionalities of futurity, lies within the depths of your infinitude as a perpetual continuum of materialization. In this eternal rarity of potential and infinitude are encoded the archetypal seed prints and quintunes for all perceivable phenomena. Every historic civilization, every timeless wonder, every stupendous natural grandeur on this earth is simply a brief outcropping and materialized crystallization of far vaster evolutionary trajectories, visionary matrices that forever swim in the creative subconscious wellspring of imagination itself. Wealth, success, fulfillment, splendor, these are not hallowed prizes hoarded only for a minute few who successfully navigate the obstacle courses and uphill struggles of external life. These are your intrinsic birthrights, for they are birthed from the essence of your very being as an eternal fountain of creative ideation. Your true source exists in the rich dream waters of subconscious ideation. As an infinite entity, you are continually conceiving, desiring, and imaginatively shaping new realities into objectified materialization simply through the ceaseless outpouring of the innermost heart's passions. Truly anything you can envision with vividness, elevated emotions, and palpable sensory feeling, you already birthed its spiritual archetype by manifestation through your creative subconscious imagination. Its objectification is then but a matter of remaining centered in fervent contemplation of its radiant ideal template and allowing its materialized issues to condense. What you call the pursuit of success, wealth attainment, relationship goals, or any other heartfelt longing is but the active projection of your concentrated ideations into the infinite dream realms of subconscious manifestation. When you harness and direct your conscious mind to these aspirations with passionate clarity, you continually seed their metaphysical germs into fertile actualization. The more ardently and ceaselessly you unfold this process, the more rapidly they congeal into densificated objectification in your experiential reality. The intensity of your imaginative visualization, emotional tenor, and conviction quite literally burst them into material embodiment. You can actualize wealth, abundance, unconditional love, self-mastery, creative epiphany, ecstatic expansion, anything conceivable in the holographic projection booth of your consciousness and contemplation, in seeming miraculous synchronicity once you inhabit the deeper awareness of being the subconscious source, presence from which all external effects flow. When you live and operate from this holistic metaphysical premise, You are no longer hypnotized by the limited idolatries of surface phenomena. You no longer anxiously strive vainly toward the inevitably dissolving mirages of ephemeral objectifications, for you understand that you yourself are the infinite wellspring of imagination, from which all manifestation originates. You cultivate your intentional dreaming, visualization, soulful feeling, and absolute conviction as the creative process through which revelatory worlds flower into existence through you. You no longer fall under reactive entrancement to residues and aftereffects, but instead activate creative causality itself through the prodigious gateways of your sublime imagination. Through this seeding and amplification of intentionalized consciousness, your subconscious mind can then gestate and birth into materialization miraculous experiences of abundance, synchronicities, fortuitous confluences, and mystical reefs. For you have tapped into its infinitudes and placed your creative orders for the subconscious to fulfill. Jesus demonstrated his mastery of this process when he amplified with the fullest emotional feeling and soulful conviction his transcendent identity as the Son of God. From this elevated ideal perspective, he then accessed miraculous powers of external manifestation, levitation, transfiguration, resurrection by the sheer effort of his thoughts and imaginal contemplation alone. This is not mystical legerdemain or occult smoke and mirrors. This is the fundamental taproot, the hidden superstructure, underlying and unifying all causal processes into effect through our subconscious imagination's infinite dreams. All apparent phenomena is the net result of these omnipresent dreaming equations we ourselves have authored at the deepest recesses of our souls. When you elevate to the awareness that you are not withering leaves tossed about by the winds of fate or circumstance, but rather the divine dreamer issuing forth an infinity of worlds from your sublime imagination each moment, you access the godlike powers of instantaneous creation that our avatars and mystics throughout the ages have demonstrated. It matters not whether you have believed yourself wealthy or destitute previously. By holographically meditating upon your infinite abundance, through substantialized visions and imaginative immersions, you can remold your subconscious projections to precipitate forth its vivifying attainment through your reality's continuum. Equally, do not remain beleaguered or constrained by past deficiencies in health, relationship dynamics, or any other heartfelt aspiration. By vividly centering your divine imagination upon idealized visions of wholeness and fulfillment, suffused with profound emotional charge, you literally issue forth the ethereal blueprints from which these sublime conditions materialize into your experiential field. To know yourself as the infinite subconscious dreamer, perpetually emanating creative ideations into objectification, frees you from the limitations and constrictions that bind those who remain entranced in the objective world's illusory appearances alone. Those oblivious to their transcendent identities can only react to external circumstances, struggling valiantly yet futilely against their own unconsciously created circumstances. But one lucidly inhabiting their role as cosmic dreamer and ideative fulcrum remains in supreme command of manifesting unlimited conditions and reshaping their world through imaginative contemplation. It could be said there are really only two perspectives available to the individuated unit of consciousness. One is the poverty consciousness, mired in the surface appearances and entrapped in constricting reactions to effects. The other is the enlightened awareness of your being, the Gnostic fountain of causes, the master dreamer whose consciousness seeds, shapes, and births all apparent phenomenal effects into concrete materialization. Those shackled to the surface mind's poverty consciousness perceive only through the senses hallucinations and emotionality are based on past impressions. Their view of reality remains stifled based on old archaic programs of limitation that became solidified through repetitive imaginative reinforcement. But the God-conscious co-creator comes upon the scene newly born in each present moment. They carry no encumbering baggage, beliefs, or definitions to circumscribe the vital infinitudes flowing through him. Their perceptions are revitalized continually through intuitive imaginative influxes seeded directly from the infinite source. The poverty-trapped simply recycle stagnant pools of past accumulated impressions, feelings, and faint beliefs about themselves in an endless feedback loop. Their dreams and future expectations remain hopelessly quarantined and predicated upon previous fear-sown experiences. But you awaken to your supreme identity as the cosmic dreamer, ideative source presence, and perpetual birth aperture for infinite consciousness. You have rent asunder the veils of limitation and superstition that restrain your liberated creative powers. Through your intimate identification with the perpetually animating subconscious currents of infinite imagination, you are released from all inertia, reactivity, and conditioned encumbrances. For you see this world and all its appearing constructs as mere shadows briefly cast across the screen of awareness. Whereas the poverty identified become ensnared in the endless treadmill of seeking, striving, and perpetually pursuing mirages of fulfillment, always just beyond the periphery of their desires, you are centered in the still pond of infinite potentiality. You are transparent to the creative source currents ever conceiving, manifesting, and objectifying new layers of revelation for your sensory contemplation. There is no chase, no endless becoming, for you have collapsed all false dualities of separation to awaken into repose as the creative overmind, overseeing all particularized materialization. Rather than pursuing success, fulfillment, abundance as distant goals to be achieved in some ever-elusive future, you declare your immutable presence as the cosmic success, the eternal spirit of infinite fulfillment and creative continuum. You inhabit your crown as limitless imagination itself, and from this sublime vantage breathe forth streams of ideation that materialize all qualities of splendor, freedom, and self-mastery into perpetual objective embodiment. From this enlightened summit, you no longer need search or quest outwardly for the solutions, treasures, and self-realization you inwardly contain in abundance. For you are the infinite wellspring of all these riches, the master dreamer who pervades and orchestrates every outward manifestation you eternally witness in your kaleidoscopic vision. Material wealth, health, self-actualization, creative breakthroughs, these radiate not as accomplishments or linear endpoints achieved through diligent striving, but instead as perpetual outpourings and fractal unfoldments of your eternal imagination's ceaselessly materializing potencies. There are no deficiencies or lacks, no wounded areas of being requiring arduous healing. For each new eternal moment resurrects you fully birthed, fully replenished in the waters of imaginative infinitude. Only by clinging to ideas of limitation inherited from past impressions do you constrict the sublime revelations unceasingly ideating from your divine consciousness. This conceptual clarification alone, that ultimate realization that your identity and awareness originate not from finite sources, but are themselves the infinite things like from which the effluxes of manifestation perpetually holographically unfurl, harbors the key to your supreme, unlimited creative empowerment. My friends, you are far vaster and more miraculous beings than you currently recognize. The blinding light of your spiritual grandeur shines so dazzlingly that it outshines the pale phenomenal world your ordinary mind fabricates as its sense reality. But with inner illumination and reverential introspection, you awaken to the staggering significance of what you are, the infinite source subjectivity from which all objects and worlds stream forth. You are the cosmic dreamer, whose numinous visions materialize as vast experiential dreamscapes for your sensual immersion. Your true self is not a tiny entity confined to a physical vessel laboring ardently yet endlessly toward elusive fulfillments and terminating in eventual decay. You are in fact pure, creative subjectivity itself, from whose pregnant potencies even the immensity of a universe constantly flows into ceaseless revivification. When you inhabit this sublime recognition, this impregnating of your consciousness with the truth that you are the divine imagination, you become plugged into the nourishing currents of infinite origination itself. The limitless continuum becomes the divine nectar nourishing your human incarnation toward greater and greater blossomings of actualization. The realms of genius mastery, astounding self-actualization, and phenomenal success become not just available to you, but inevitable emanations of your being. For you come to recognize yourself as the miraculous subconscious dreamer from whose infinite depths all objects arise, and all manifestations perpetually holographically project through the spectrum of your sensory observations.
I want to remind you today that God has a plan for your life. It's not a plan of confusion, fear, or uncertainty. It's a plan of hope, purpose, and divine timing. Sometimes we look at our lives and wonder why things aren't happening the way we expected. We pray, we believe, we do our best, yet it feels like we're stuck in the waiting room of life. But I want you to know that God is never late. He's never behind schedule. His timing is always perfect. You may not see it right now, but every delay, every closed door, and every unexpected turn is leading you closer to the destiny He has prepared for you. The scripture says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." That means before you were even born, God already laid out the blueprint of your life. He knew every challenge you would face, every victory you would celebrate, and every moment where you would have to trust Him completely. But here's the challenge. We often get impatient. We want things to happen on our timeline. We pray and expect instant results. When it doesn't happen, we start questioning. God, did you forget about me? Have you abandoned me? Why are things taking so long? But I want to encourage you today. Just because you don't see anything happening doesn't mean God isn't working behind the scenes. Just because the answer hasn't come yet doesn't mean God has denied your request. Sometimes He's preparing you for what He has prepared for you. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had a dream that one day he would be in a position of great influence. But before that dream became reality, he was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and placed in prison. For years, it looked like nothing was happening. It seemed like God had forgotten about him. But what Joseph didn't realize was that in every setback, God was setting him up for something greater. The very things that looked like obstacles were actually stepping stones leading him to his destiny. Maybe you're in a place right now where you don't understand why things are taking so long. You've been praying for a breakthrough, believing for a promotion, trusting God for a relationship, but nothing seems to be moving. Let me remind you, just because you don't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. He's aligning the right people, opening the right doors, and putting everything in place. He knows when you're ready. He knows when the situation is ready. And when it's time, no force on earth can stop His plan from unfolding. You don't have to try to force things to happen. You don't have to live frustrated, wondering when it's going to work out. God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are beyond what we can imagine. If He is making you wait, it's because the blessing He has in store for you is worth the wait. He's growing your faith. He's developing your character. He's strengthening you so that when you step into what He has promised, you'll be ready to handle it. Think about an eagle. Before it takes flight, it sits in the nest, waiting for the right moment. The mother eagle knows that if the baby eagle tries to fly too soon, it won't have the strength to soar, so she waits. She allows the eagle to grow stronger, to develop its wings, to build endurance, and when the time is right, she pushes the eagle out of the nest, and it begins to soar. That's what God is doing in your life. You may feel like you're in a waiting season, but God is strengthening your wings. He's preparing you to soar higher than you ever imagined. Sometimes the delays we face are not denials, they're divine protections. God is keeping you from something that isn't right for you. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank Him for not answering certain prayers the way you wanted. You'll see that His plan was far greater than anything you could have imagined. Maybe you've been praying for a certain job and the door keeps closing. Maybe you've been believing for a relationship but things aren't working out. Instead of getting discouraged, start thanking God. Thank Him that He's in control. Thank Him that He knows what's best. Thank Him that He's directing your steps. When you release control and trust in His timing, you're showing God that you have faith. Abraham and Sarah had to wait years for their promised child. They tried to take matters into their own hands, and it only led to frustration. But when they finally surrendered, when they stopped trying to force it and trusted God's timing, the promise came to pass. If God has put a dream in your heart, if He's given you a vision for your future, don't give up just because it's taking longer than expected. The delay doesn't mean denial. It means God is getting everything in place. When you trust God's timing, you can live in peace. You don't have to be anxious. You don't have to wonder if things will work out. You know that at the right time, God will bring the right opportunity, the right people, and the right breakthrough. It may not happen the way you thought, but His way is always better. I want to encourage you today. Keep believing. Keep standing in faith. Keep trusting that God's plan for your life is unfolding in the perfect way, even when you don't see it, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Know that behind the scenes, God is orchestrating something greater than you could ever imagine. The waiting season is never wasted. It's a season of preparation, of growth, and of positioning for what's next. The waiting season is never wasted. It's a season of preparation, of growth, and of positioning for what's next. When you look back at your life, you realize that the moments when you had to wait, when things didn't seem to be moving, were actually the moments when God was working the most. He was shifting things in your favor, putting the right people in place, and aligning your steps with His perfect will. So often we get caught up in what hasn't happened yet. We focus on what we don't have, on the prayers that haven't been answered, on the dreams that seem so far away. But God is saying, trust me. I see the bigger picture. I know the perfect timing. You may not understand it now, but every closed door, every delay, and every unanswered prayer is setting you up for something far greater than you could ever imagine. Maybe right now you're facing a season where it feels like nothing is happening. You're praying, believing, standing in faith, but you don't see any movement. Let me encourage you. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean God isn't working. He's moving behind the scenes, arranging things in your favor, preparing you for the next level. The delay is not a denial. It's a divine setup for something greater. Think about David. He was anointed to be king at a young age, but he didn't step into that position right away. He had to go through years of preparation, facing battles, overcoming obstacles, and proving his faithfulness. He could have gotten discouraged, thinking, God, you said I was going to be king. Why is it taking so long? But David understood that God's timing was perfect. He didn't try to force things to happen. He didn't get bitter. He didn't walk away from God's promises. He stayed faithful in the waiting, and at the right time, God elevated him. Maybe you're in a place right now where you feel like you're being overlooked. Others are getting promoted, getting married, stepping into their calling, and you feel like you're stuck in the background. But let me tell you, just because you're hidden doesn't mean you're forgotten. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean God isn't positioning you. There's something powerful about trusting God when you don't understand. When you say, God, I don't know why it's taking so long, but I trust you, I believe your plan is bigger than mine, that's when you position yourself for favor. There's a story in the Bible about the Israelites. God had promised them the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey, but instead of taking them straight there, He led them through the wilderness. What should have been an 11-day journey took 40 years. Why? Because they weren't ready. They had the wrong mindset. They were complaining, doubting, and focusing on what they didn't have. And because they wouldn't trust God's timing, they missed out on what He had for them. Don't let that be your story. Don't let impatience rob you of your destiny. You may not see the full picture now, but God knows what He's doing. If He's making you wait, it's because He's preparing something greater than what you had in mind. You have to come to a place where you trust Him so completely that even when things don't make sense, even when the doors don't open, even when it feels like nothing is changing, you still say, God, I trust you. I know you are working all things together for my good. Think about Noah. God told him to build an ark because a flood was coming. It had never rained before, and people thought he was crazy. But Noah didn't question God. He didn't say, God, are you sure? This doesn't make sense. No, he trusted God's plan even when he didn't understand it. For years, he kept building, kept preparing, kept believing. And when the flood finally came, he and his family were safe because he had obeyed. Maybe right now, God is asking you to build something. Maybe he's telling you to prepare, even though you don't see any signs of what's coming. People may not understand. They may question you, criticize you, laugh at you. But you have to trust that if God told you to do it, he has a reason. Keep building, keep preparing, keep believing. Because when the time is right, God is going to open doors that no one can shut. One of the greatest tests of faith is trusting God when you don't have all the answers. It's easy to trust him when everything is going smoothly, when the finances are there, when the opportunities are lining up. But real faith is trusting him when nothing makes sense. When you're waiting, when you're wondering, when you're tempted to doubt, that's when your faith is being strengthened. The enemy wants you to get discouraged in the waiting. He wants you to start questioning God's goodness, to start doubting his promises. But you have to make up your mind that no matter how long it takes, you're not going to lose faith. You're not going to let fear, frustration, or impatience take over. You're going to stand firm, knowing that God is faithful. There are some things in life that only God can do. You can't force the right doors to open. You can't make certain opportunities happen. But you can position yourself by staying faithful, by keeping the right attitude, by refusing to give up. When you do that, you're showing God that you trust him, and he will reward your faithfulness. I've learned that sometimes God delays things because what he has planned is bigger than what we imagined. If he gave it to us too soon, we wouldn't be able to handle it. The blessing would be too much. So he takes us through a process, through a season of stretching, of growing, of learning to depend on him. And when the time is right, he brings the breakthrough, and we realize that every moment of waiting was worth it. Think about a farmer. He plants the seeds, waters them, takes care of them, but he doesn't see the harvest right away. He has to trust that beneath the soil something is happening. Even when he doesn't see any signs of growth, he knows that in the right season, the harvest will come. That's how it is with God's timing. You may not see anything happening right now, but beneath the surface, he's growing something in you. He's strengthening your faith. He's preparing you for what's ahead. You have to trust that when it's time, your breakthrough will come. When it's time, the right door will open. When it's time, the promise will be fulfilled. Until then, keep being faithful, keep showing up, keep believing that God's plan is greater than anything you could ever dream of. You may have moments where you feel like giving up, where you wonder if God is really hearing your prayers. But let me remind you, God is not a man that he should lie. If he said it, he will do it. If he promised it, it will come to pass. It may not happen when you want it to, but it will happen at the right time. God is saying, trust me. I've got you in the palm of my hand. I know what I'm doing. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm leading you to something greater. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to have all the answers. Just trust in the one who does. He's working, he's moving, and he's leading you to a place of blessing beyond anything you could ever imagine. You may not realize it, but right now God is arranging things in your favor. He is positioning you for the breakthrough, for the opportunity, for the answered prayer. You may not see anything changing, but that doesn't mean he's not working. What he promised is still on schedule. The people you need to fulfill your destiny are already lined up. The resources, the favor, the open doors, they are on their way. During the day that you are not aware, the night. But here's the key. You have to trust his timing. If you get impatient and try to make things happen in your own strength, you may step outside of his best. Sarah and Abraham made that mistake. God promised them a child, but when years went by and nothing happened, they decided to help God out. Sarah told Abraham to sleep with her maidservant Hagar so they could have a child. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it wasn't God's plan. That decision led to heartache, strife, and division in their family. When God gives you a promise, it's not your job to figure out how it will happen. It's not your job to force it to come to pass. Your job is to trust, to believe, and to stay faithful. God doesn't need your help to fulfill His word. He doesn't need you to manipulate circumstances or try to open doors that He hasn't opened. When it's the right time, He will make it happen, and it will be better than anything you could have arranged. Maybe you've been praying for a breakthrough, believing for a promotion, standing in faith for a dream to come to pass. You've done everything you know to do, but nothing is happening. You're tempted to get discouraged, to start doubting, to question whether it's ever going to work out. But let me remind you, just because it's taking time doesn't mean God has changed His mind. Delay does not mean denial. There's a reason for the wait. Sometimes God is protecting you from something you can't see. Sometimes He's strengthening your character so you'll be ready for what's ahead. Sometimes He's making sure all the pieces are in place so that when the door opens, you will walk into it with confidence. Look at Joseph. God gave him a dream that he would be a leader, that he would rule over nations. But instead of stepping right into that position, Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and later put in prison for something he didn't even do. If anyone had a reason to question God's timing, it was Joseph. He could have thought, God, I had a dream. I know you called me. Why is this happening? But Joseph didn't give up. He didn't let the delays cause him to lose faith. He stayed faithful where he was. He kept honoring God, kept serving with excellence, kept believing. And at the right time, after years of waiting, Joseph was promoted to second in command over all of Egypt. What if Joseph had given up in the prison? What if he had let discouragement talk him out of his destiny? He would have never seen the fulfillment of what God had promised. Some of you are in a waiting season right now. You've been faithful. You've been doing the right thing, but it feels like you're stuck. Nothing is changing. You're wondering, God, when is it going to happen? Let me encourage you. Don't lose faith. Don't give up just because it's taking longer than you expected. The same God who was faithful to Joseph, who turned his situation around overnight, is the same God who is working in your life. At the right time, in a moment, God will shift things. One phone call, one divine connection, one idea, one opportunity, and suddenly everything will change. The years of waiting, the struggles, the disappointments, they will all make sense. You will look back and say, now I understand why it had to happen this way. The enemy will try to convince you that nothing is happening. He'll whisper, if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But God's timing is not our timing. A delay is not a defeat. A waiting season is not a wasted season. God is using this time to prepare you, to grow you, to strengthen your faith. He is molding you into the person you need to be for the blessing He has prepared. Sometimes God withholds things from us because He loves us too much to give them to us too soon. Think about a child who wants to drive a car. They may be eager, excited, convinced they are ready. But a loving parent won't hand them the keys until they are mature enough to handle it. It's not that the parent doesn't want them to have the car, it's that they want them to have it at the right time when it won't destroy them. In the same way, God has amazing things in store for you, but He's not going to release them until He knows you're ready. If He gave you the promotion too soon, you might not have the character to handle the pressure. If He gave you the relationship before you were emotionally healed, it might not last. If He gave you the opportunity before you were prepared, it might overwhelm you. God knows what He's doing. He is a God of perfect timing. He sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. If He's asking you to wait, it's because He's preparing something better than what you had in mind. The delay is not punishment. It's preparation. It's God's way of getting you ready for what He has in store. While you're waiting, don't get discouraged. Keep your faith strong. Keep praising. Keep believing. Keep expecting. Speak life over your situation. Declare, God, I know you are faithful. I may not see it yet, but I trust you. I believe my breakthrough is coming. When you keep the right attitude in the waiting, you are setting yourself up for a suddenly moment. God has not forgotten you. He has seen every sacrifice, every tear, every moment of faithfulness. He has heard every prayer, and He is working behind the scenes. The moment He has planned for you is already on the calendar. At the right time, you're going to see His favor, His breakthrough, His increase. You don't have to figure out how it's going to happen. You don't have to manipulate things or make it happen in your own strength. Just be still and know that He is God. Trust that He is leading you, guiding you, and working all things together for your good. If you stay in faith, if you keep believing, if you don't let the enemy talk you out of it, then at the right time the promise will come to pass. What God has spoken over your life will happen. The waiting will be worth it. The delay will make sense, and you will step into the fullness of everything He has planned for you. The breakthrough is coming. The doors will open. The healing will manifest. The opportunity will come. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep expecting, because your time is on the way. You might be facing challenges right now. You may be battling sickness, financial difficulties, or feeling stuck in life. But I want to tell you, don't let your circumstances dictate your future. You are not at the mercy of life's ups and downs. You are a child of the Most High God, and He has a plan for you that will not be thwarted by any obstacle or setback. God has a destiny for you, and that destiny is filled with promise, favor, and blessings beyond what you can imagine. But you have to walk by faith, not by sight. You have to trust that even when things look bleak, God is working on your behalf. The scripture says, we walk by faith and not by sight. And the scripture says, Im gon elivona I esheno. It's easy to walk by faith when everything is going well, when your plans are unfolding perfectly, when your dreams are coming true. But the true test of faith comes when things aren't going according to plan, when life throws unexpected twists your way. That's when you have to trust that God is still in control. That's when you have to remind yourself that His plan is better than your plan, and His timing is better than your timing. You see, faith is not just believing that God can do something. It's believing that He will. It's trusting that He is working in the background even when you can't see the evidence. Faith is believing that your breakthrough is coming even when the road ahead looks uncertain. It's choosing to trust God's plan for your life, even when you don't have all the answers. And God will never leave you in the dark. He promises in His word that He will direct your steps. Proverbs 3:05-06 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. It doesn't say that you'll always understand what's going on. It doesn't say that everything will always be smooth and easy. But it does say that if you trust in Him, He will guide you. He will make your path straight. That means no matter how winding or difficult the road may seem, God will direct you. He will lead you to where you need to be. He will open the right doors and close the wrong ones. You may not see it now, but trust that He is working behind the scenes. Just because you can't see the answer doesn't mean He hasn't already worked it out. There are times in life when you will face things that are beyond your understanding, things that don't make sense, things that challenge your faith. But I want to encourage you today, when you don't understand, you don't have to panic. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to get anxious. All you have to do is trust. Trust that God has a plan. Trust that He is faithful. Trust that He will make everything work together for your good in His perfect timing. I know it's not always easy. I know it's not always comfortable. Sometimes you feel like you've been waiting forever. But let me remind you, God doesn't waste anything. The seasons you're in right now, the challenges, the struggles, they are not wasted. God is using them to prepare you for what's ahead. What you are going through today is part of His plan to shape you into the person you need to be. If you find yourself in a waiting season, don't get discouraged. God is not ignoring you. He is preparing you. You are in His waiting room, and in this waiting room, He is doing something deep inside of you. He is strengthening your faith. He is building your character. He is developing your patience. He is teaching you to trust Him more. And when you come out of this season, you will be stronger, wiser, and more prepared to handle the blessings that are coming your way. You see, the waiting season is not a season of stagnation. It's not a season of wasted time. It's a season of preparation. God is working in you, shaping you, molding you, making you ready for the things He has for you. Don't rush through it. Don't try to skip ahead. Embrace the process. Stay faithful where you are. Keep trusting, keep believing, keep praising. You may not understand it all right now, but trust that God has a purpose in the waiting. He's making sure you're ready for the next level. And when He opens the door, you'll be ready to step into everything He has prepared for you. In the meantime, I encourage you to keep your heart in a place of gratitude. You may not have everything you want yet, but you have everything you need. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but you have God's favor on your life. You may not be where you want to be, but you are closer than you were yesterday. And while you wait, thank Him for what He's doing in you and around you. Gratitude is a powerful thing. It shifts your perspective. It reminds you of how far you've come and how much God has already done in your life. It keeps your heart in a place of faith. It reminds you that God is good, that He is faithful, and that He has not forgotten you. One of the greatest things you can do while you wait is to keep your focus on God's promises. Don't focus on the delay. Don't focus on what's not happening. Focus on what God has already promised you. Remember His word. He says He will provide for you. He says He will heal you. He says He will open doors that no man can shut. He says He will restore what has been lost. Focus on those promises. In Philippians 4:6-7, the Apostle Paul writes, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This scripture tells us not to be anxious about anything. I know it's easier said than done, but if you can trust God's plan, you can experience peace in the waiting. When you trust that God is working on your behalf, when you trust that He is arranging things in your favor, you can rest, you can relax, you don't have to worry. Let me tell you, God's peace is powerful. It's not the kind of peace the world offers. It's not the kind of peace that comes from having everything figured out or knowing how things are going to turn out. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, God is in control. When you have that kind of peace, you can endure the waiting season. You can keep your joy, you can keep your praise, you can keep your faith. You don't have to let the uncertainty of the future rob you of the peace God has already given you. Remember, God is faithful to His promises. He will fulfill what He has spoken over your life. His plan is bigger than any setback. His timing is perfect. Trust that He is working in your life even when you don't see it. Keep believing, keep trusting, keep praising. The breakthrough you've been waiting for is on the way. The promises God has made will come to pass. And when it does, you will look back and see how God has been working behind the scenes, making all things beautiful in His time. Trust His timing. He is never late. He is always right on time.